All right. Aaron, how we doing?
Doing good, man. How are you?
I'm doing good, man.
Awesome, man.
I'm feeling really good right here.
Volleyball champion, huh? I heard about that.
There's going to be some really angry people that see that in the background of this call.
The street said you cheated. Is that true, Van? You guys just cheated?
Who's the streets? The only thing I can say, JP did cross the line when he was serving a couple times. That was the only thing. I was the beginning of the tournament, but we learned our lesson. They slapped us on the wrist.
They said you guys paid the refs.
Welcome everybody to our masterclass call. As you guys know, we do this every couple weeks, and if you're new to the call, welcome. You know, it's a really great time in our business, and you know, we're just coming off of our R&R trip, which was phenomenal. It was our first one in 3.5 years. And, you know, every week or every couple of weeks, you guys get a chance to listen to the top owners in our business who are killing it, kicking ass. And they teach you guys leadership principles that help you guys get promoted to management faster. Well, today, not only do you get one of the top owners, you get the top owner, the manager of the year, fresh off his win in R&R. You know, just on an incredible roll. So, not only do you get good information, every couple of weeks, but you guys are getting a very, very special guest speaker today, Mr. Aaron Nimako. And Aaron, real quick, first of all, how does it feel to be manager of the year? And how was your experience in R&R?
It's very humbling. I'm very honored that my peers were able to, nominate me and have me win owner of the year. It doesn't feel real almost because I still feel like I have so much more to do, so much more to learn, so much more ways to grow. But it definitely feels great to have your hard work be recognized. So it's definitely humbling, but it's also appreciated.
Yeah.
R&R was great. It was great, guys. Apparently there's another one in November. You guys should, if you're on this call as a leader, you didn't go to the last one, you need to make sure that you put the work in for the next 7 months to be there, because great networking, great vibes, great time, great music, great foods, great weather, just great people. I loved it. I had so much fun. So, if you guys are looking to go to R&R, use it as motivation throughout the summertime to get there.
Absolutely. And, not only did R&R just happen, but, we really believe that these regional events that we've been doing over the last couple of years have been even more of a game changer. And trust me, like Aaron said, you want to be at the next R&R because these trips are incredible. But we have some regionals coming up, guys. We just did one in Dallas, which, we've changed some of the format to make these better. Heard that meeting was really, really good with Julia Davis and Richard and all those guys. We have a Northern California meeting coming up May 7th. So in a couple of weeks, we got a Southern California meeting, May 21st. We have a meeting in Florida between, Atlanta, the guys in the South, and everybody in Florida. That's going to be on June 4th. And then we have our Northeast meeting, June 11th. We're still waiting on the dates for the Chicago meeting, but, these meetings are for everybody. So if you're a leader on this call and you got new people, get them excited about these conferences because they're going to get to meet everybody from their region, every owner, every rep, every leader, every assistant manager. And we know how much that means to our business to get people exposed to the bigger picture as soon as possible. I remember my first meeting, it was a Dallas meeting. It took me 4 months to go to one, but changed my life for sure. So we're really, really excited about that coming up. As Aaron gets into his topic today with conversations, I just want to give you guys a quick glimpse of what 10 months has done for Aaron Nimako. 10 months ago was the last time he was on this call. He was still a great owner, was doing fine, but you compare where he was 10 months ago. Aaron told me 10 months ago, he had 25 guys in his office. Not bad. He had 40K saved. Not bad. And he had 1 promotion. Not bad. Well, now 10 months later, the reason why he won owner of the year is he's got 60 guys in his office. He's been number 1 on 2 programs pretty consistently. He saved over 100K and he's got 9 promotions that are outside deals now. So there's no reason why he won't be promoted to regional as we go into the next R&R if he keeps, doing what he's doing. And national by the next one is also very possible. So Aaron, we're really excited to have you on the call today. I know your focus is conversations, which anybody that, is in any position of leadership, we know how important conversations are. Good conversations can develop someone the right way. Poor conversations can lead to them not getting developed. So I'm really excited to be a note taker today. Aaron, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Van. I really appreciate it a lot, guys. And I did want to go over conversations with today because this is something that I feel has been one of the bigger game changers in my career, has just been my ability to have better conversations, to be able to get my leaders to be better at the business faster, which in turn has created kind of a self-running office, if you will. I'd say earlier in my career, my combos weren't as poised or as strong. So I relied on myself having to do everything in my building or everything on my team, right? When you get really good at conversations, you no longer have to do everything because you're now able to develop those around you to be better at the business. So you can kind of take a seat back and have them do more so that you can also not overwhelm yourself, but empower those around you. So this is a very important topic, guys. Please take some notes and let's get to it. So let's go to the next slide.
And also, guys, as Aaron gets going here, we want to make sure the chat, we're gonna try to get this done in about 30 minutes and let you guys have the last 15 minutes of questions. So please get your questions ready for the chat. Text your other leaders in the group me to hop on. All right, Aaron, go ahead, buddy.
All right. So your ability to have conversations, guys, will dictate your success in our industry. Point blank, period. This is the name of the game in this business is duplication. And your ability to duplicate has to do with not only your actions, but your conversations each and every single day with all of your people, right? Your role as a leader, should say develop, but it's to develop people through conversations, right? Your role as leader is to develop people through conversations, and you're supposed to be educating and coaching people to be at the top of their game. You guys are a coach, right? Now, I want everybody on this call to think about the best coach they ever had in any sports arena that they ever played. That coach was probably able to get you to do things or accomplish things you never thought was possible due to their conversations, their actions, and their overall ability to create a mentality in you. This is absolutely no different. You guys are the coach, you are the leader, you are the educator here. So you need to make sure that you're doing the best way possible to get your guys to perform their best in the business and outside the business so that they can accomplish their goals. All right. So, that's one thing I really want to discuss on this slide is, your conversations and your ability to have them to your success. Okay. We can go to the next slide. So here are some subjects, some major subjects that you guys need to make sure you're focusing on when it comes down to having these conversations, right? So for example, standards. Standard convos are very important. And guys, mind you, these are convos you're having every day. It's not like a once a week thing. You're having these convos every day to enforce the right behaviors. Standards. What behavior is expected in the officer on your team? And it sets a tone for what you will and won't allow. So even on day one, we go over standards twice because we want to make sure that we can hold people accountable from the get-go. All right. Production. Overall performance. The business needs revenue to grow. Right. So yes, production is an everyday conversation because people need to know that you need to perform in order for you to make money, for the business to make money, right? Because if the business isn't making money, there is no opportunity, right? So this is very important. And these are constantly things that we're working on to get people to perform better in the office. Attendance, right? One, you need to be here every single day to make money. More importantly, to be a good business owner, you have to be in your office every single day and be present consistently. So people have goals of being these branch managers, and they need to understand how important consistent attendance is in order for you to accomplish your goals. Punctuality, same thing, being on time is how we learn, how we maximize atmo, but more importantly, it's a quality of a top business owner and a top leader is punctuality. Professionalism, right? These are constant convos. How someone talks and looks is a big part. At the end of the day, this business is all about attracting the right people. So when you interview somebody, when people walk into your building, they're assessing the way the leaders in the office talk and walk, right? And how they look to see if they feel like this is an environment they can run through, right? So you should be constantly developing your guys through conversation on their professionalism. And the last part is mentality, right? Our goal is to build leaders who have strong entrepreneurial mindsets, right? So through your conversations, you need to make sure that you're developing people in this regard, or not only will your leaders be weak, but there won't be a strong office because the mentality of people around you are weak. So these are just some subjects that I want you guys to really understand that as a top leader, as a coach, as an educator, you need to be constantly having these convos about standards, production, attendance, punctuality, professionalism, mentality, and getting individuals to be at the best of the best at these topics in order for you to get promoted management or run a kick-ass expansion squad.
Yeah.
All right.
The other thing too, because this is really good because it gives you guys like a structure of kind of like what to look for in your people. Like what are the things you can identify that would be conversation pieces? And I love that, Aaron talks about, punctuality, talks about production. He's like, okay, he can look at the numbers and say, okay, this person needs a conversation because their numbers aren't, they're not hitting their goals. Aaron, I guess my question for you is like, I know when I was a new leader, sometimes I was afraid to have these conversations with someone early. And I wanted to know like how to do it because I didn't want to like freak them out. I wanted to get them to get better, but I also didn't want to like attack them too quickly, too soon and freak them out and overwhelm them. how do you look at that? How do you look at a new guy in his first week or two and these specific topics versus someone who's in leadership for a while, or someone who's, been with you and they already know all this stuff? Because I know there's a difference in how you approach those conversations the first couple times you have them versus you've already had this conversation.
Yeah, and I love that you brought that up. And I believe on my next slide I'll cover it, which is even greater. Van, you're the man. There's like a step-by-step process on how to have convos. Can you go to the next slide, Elise? I think I put on the next slide. Yep. So perfect, right here.
Here we go.
So the order of it, okay, matters, right? So when you notice, guys, that the production is dropped or the standards have dropped in somebody's behavior, or they've done something in the office that's affecting their ability to accomplish their goals, that's the first offense. So that's the first mistake. You let them know it's okay, and you take fault. You say, hey, Van, I see you came in late today. Hey, man, you probably weren't aware that when we come in late, we miss part of Atmo, and that's harmful to yourself because you're not getting the information you need. It's also harmful to the business because other people around us think it's okay to be late. But I probably didn't tell you, so it's my fault. I just want to make sure moving forward, Van, that we're not late anymore. So what can we do to make sure we're not late? You're going to catch an earlier bus? Awesome. That's great. Okay. That's a new guy, right? It's a new guy, brand new leader, brand new distro. They don't know anything. You don't hold them. You tell them it's probably my fault. I didn't tell you how important this was. We'll hold myself accountable. Here's what we're going to do moving forward to fix it, right? Cool. Now, the second mistake. At this point, it's been addressed. Now it's a choice. So we want to make sure we build, break, build, right? You're more stern here, but you still need to educate them on how this behavior is not acceptable and how it's getting in the way of them accomplishing their goals. Once again, you build, break, build. So by the end of it, the person should still feel appreciated. There is a solution found that they can commit to, so it doesn't happen again. For example, hey, Van, I'm noticing again that, you're late. I know that, I'll ask questions like, so why were you late again? Tell me more. Okay, well, Van, I know that we talked last time. You mentioned to me about catching an earlier bus. Did you do that? Man, I'll be like, no, I didn't. No. All right, well, I was letting you know now, man, like this is a problem. When you're coming in late, not only are you getting in the way of you accomplishing your goals, but you won't get promoted to leadership. You told me you want leadership, right? Well, you won't get promoted. But more importantly, you're also not gonna get the information you need. Now, at the same time, though, Van, I will say, you did a good job high rolling. You looked the part. People like you in the office, so that's great. So I just need you to make sure you're not late anymore, so that way we can continue to help you grow in the business, right? And then the third mistake. Now it's a problem. Okay, so you open up the conversation, sit them down, and you ask questions, preempt them. This would be a hard convo. I'm not gonna lie, Van. I'm not gonna be very nice to you right? Pull out the facts. You were late last Monday. You were late Tuesday before, and now you're late again, right? And at this point, you tell them, "Hey, Van, like we talked about this catching earlier bus. You refuse to do this. So now I'm just letting you know, if this keeps on behaving, this keeps on happening, we're gonna let you go. Or it doesn't matter how many sales you do, Van. If this keeps happening, we're never gonna promote you to leadership. Like you're just not gonna be able to be a strong leader because punctuality is part of the 8 steps, step 2. So if you can't even do step 2, it doesn't matter whatever else you're doing, we're not going to put you in leadership position. So yeah, this has to stop. I'm honestly not going to pour any more of my time into you until you see you're taking the opportunity as seriously as I am. That's the third comment.
Yeah. Yeah, it's great because it kind of falls into that category of like when you have new guys versus people you've already spoken to.
Yeah.
And I'll say this, like there's going to be people that need a conversation more than once. And I think most of us need a conversation about something 2, 3, 4, 5 times. And obviously these are kind of like the topics that he covered are the basics, like the principles of our business, attendance, punctuality. These are kind of like the binary, 0 or 1, like you either do these things or you don't. If you don't have a good mentality, if you can't show up on time, they're kind of like the 8 steps in a way.
Yeah.
So I like how those conversations are kind of more black and white, right, Aaron? It's kind of like either you do this or you can't do this. And then as you guys get into developing people, right, there's going to be deeper conversations that have some of these same principles, right? So if I'm just the same way Aaron's coaching me on being, late. Well, what if Aaron's coaching me on, how to have a conversation with someone, or Aaron's coaching me on how I carry myself in front of the room, or Aaron's coaching me on, my C factors. And so I listen to him. I'm like, you're right. I got to smile for more when I'm in front of the room, but then I don't do it. So Aaron, you probably know this, there's kind of the two parts of conversations. One is going to be some of these basic principles that you just have to make sure that anybody that you're working with, all those things are checked off over time. Right? Is it going to be perfect? No. But then you get people that check all those boxes. Those are your people you're now working with on all the other things, conversations. And in those cases, with those conversations, Aaron, I'm assuming you want it to be one conversation and it fixes them, but it typically isn't, right? And so that's where the patience part has to come in, of developing your people beyond just, hey, do it this way, because people are going to try. It's kind of like coaching someone in the field, right? You say, hey, make sure your body language, you got, broomstick theory, and you have the GQ stance, and they kind of do it and they try, but they don't get there. So how do you look at that? Like, you have these basic principles and then you have developmental conversations. What's your approach to those, the second part of it?
So my biggest thing is I give people the benefit of the doubt, and I also try to assess their level of attempting to do what I told them to do, right? Or what's in their best interest. For example, if I see somebody is legitimately trying, like they're trying to do solutions, but maybe it's just not working out for them, that's when I have to give them recognition. Like, hey, I see you're trying, man. I see that you're putting the work in. You went out, you bought a new suit. You went out, you bought new clothes, you bought new shoes. I see that. But Van, you're still coming in, not communicating the best, to have the best subject matter. So we're still working on professionalism. But I see you're trying, but instead of talking about this in the office, talk about this instead, right? And then maybe, and then when I notice it, I give them like, yeah, man, I saw today you had that convo with that new start. It was a great convo, man. That's awesome. I see you're improving. And as I keep uplifting them, I still point out the little things that they're doing wrong so that they see that they're still improving. And then over time, what will happen is it won't be an issue at all anymore, because they feel good about themselves and how they're improving. That's if they're putting in the effort, though. If they're putting in the genuine effort, I have to be patient because no one's perfect. It's when they're not putting in the effort where you have to have it's a problem comment, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And the other thing too, like the goal for you guys as leaders is to be relatable. If you attack people, hey, why aren't you on time? Hey, why aren't you this? Hey, why isn't your pitch better? Hey, why, you're going to come across as just kind of like this unrelatable, asshole. And it doesn't mean that you're not, it doesn't mean you're wrong. It doesn't mean that your coaching isn't right. But, when you're teaching people, these people are brand new in whatever they're learning. So Aaron, and I'm guessing you do this because you have a lot of guys, is you put yourself in their shoes. You say, hey, I remember when I was new. I remember, and when you can, it's like a customer, you felt found. When you guys do that with these people, going into conversations, like Aaron said, saying, hey, this is probably my fault. Hey, I remember being in your position, telling them what they're probably thinking. I'm assuming this is probably new for you, right? This is different. And they go, you're right. And if you can say things about what they could be thinking or what they probably are thinking before they tell you, and you build that into the package of coaching someone, you're going to have their ear. If you attack people and you don't call yourself out for when you were a doofus, when you used to show up late, when you used to make those mistakes, they're just going to think you're just this unrelatable person that is so perfect. We're not perfect. None of us are perfect. So the more you guys admit back when you were in their position, the stuff you did and the screw ups you made, the more they're going to listen to you and be like, okay, cool. This person gets it. And it's going to allow you to be more of a human being when you're coaching people.
1,000%. And you couldn't have named it better. And so because of that, right, people are asking the call, well, how do I have those convos? At least if you go to the next slide, I'll kind of show you guys how to have that. And Van was perfect, So when it comes to how to have the conversations, when you notice a behavior, guys, ask questions to the why this behavior occurred. And Van mentioned it, right? You want to be relatable. So if someone comes in late or someone's doing the wrong things, I don't just grab them up and rip into them. I'll be like, okay, well, Van, I actually noticed that you did X, Y, and Z. Like, I noticed that it's day 5 and you still don't know the pitch. But well, why is that? I don't just go in, wow, you don't know the pitch. What's wrong with you? No, I want to ask questions because you never know. Because if that new start then turns around and tells you after you yell at them, oh, I don't know the pitch because my sibling passed away and I'm depressed. Now you're an asshole.
Yeah.
Right? Versus if you just ask questions first, try to get in the psychology behind their mindset. So maybe Van's day 5 doesn't pitch. Hey man, so in Ammo, I noticed that you don't really like know the pitch, man. Why is that? And they're like, oh, da da da. Well, I'm like, okay, cool. Well, remind me, what are your goals again? I think when we had our day 1 goal convo, you told me you wanted to get to branch management, right? And your break even is $1,000 a week, right? Okay. Well, can you see how you not knowing the pitch by day 5 keeps you in training longer? Now, if you're in training longer, do you think you'll make a lot of money in the first few weeks? Okay. So you can agree that by you not knowing the pitch, you may find out that you're not be able to afford your break even, right? That could be a problem for you. Okay. So that's why I think it's important for us to know the pitch by day 5. So what can we do to make sure that by when you come in tomorrow, you know the pitch? And then you come with a solution. Oh, when I go home at night, I'll study for half an hour. Or when I go home, I'm going to practice in the mirror for 30 minutes. When I wake up, I'm going to read over 20 minutes. Okay, awesome. And then the next day when they come in, if you see improvement, high five. Like, yo, great job, man. I see you know the pitch. You're awesome. Good job. It's going to help you accomplish your goals, right? If they don't, then we go back to the other convo where it's like, this is a problem. And maybe there's a bottom line or there's a harder conversation that has to happen.
Yeah, it's like one of the things we don't always cover is like how important it is for like little mini celebrations of things they've done well, like positive reinforcement when they've actually fixed something. You guys, that is a huge missed opportunity. If you coach someone, they fix it and you kind of walk by them and don't notice. These little things like really go a long way. The guy that you told, hey, make sure you study your pitch, and then you see him in the next morning and he's practicing with someone 50 minutes before atmosphere, and you just kind of see him and you don't say anything, you should go be like, dude, look at you, 15 minutes early practicing your pitch. Let's go. He's going to be like, people feed off that. They want that. They want more of that. So now they're going to think, well, how else can I get that positive reinforcement from Aaron? Well, I'm going to do more things that make him notice that I'm somebody that he should work with more. So just something little there, because what you're breaking down is so important. But if you don't, like he said, if you do not celebrate the small victories after a coaching conversation, sometimes it's a waste.
100%. You have to, but yeah, you have to give you a positive reinforcement. You have to. It's very important. It's how people appreciate that and they work harder for you when you do that. And also, just guys, in the beginning, your criticals. The mistake that I made as a leader is I wouldn't ask the why. You need to get into the psychology behind someone's thought process to then show them why their thought process is faulty, so they can then accomplish their goals. If you don't know their goals and you don't ask the why before you have a conversation, you come off as just a dictator or a dickhead, or more, or even worse, you come off as somebody who only wants to benefit yourself. When you ask the why and you ask them what their goals, it shows you actually care about what's going on in their life, so they can see why their issues are, or their mistakes are affecting them, right? That's the difference between a boss and a leader, right? A leader wants to help the person. A boss only wants to help themselves. So you got to keep that's very important. Okay. Now the when. I'm a big believer, have the convo as soon as you see it. The longer you wait, the bigger issue becomes, and the less impactful the convo is, right? If you see an issue and bring it up 2 days later, it feels passive. It's like, wow, you were thinking this the whole time and didn't say anything till now. It feels like passive aggressive. Also, it could grow into something much bigger if you don't prevent it at that very moment. So when you see a convo, have it right away. At least by the end of the day, don't let it go into the next day, right? I know sometimes we're nervous, guys, to have convos, but it's better to have it right away than not to have it at all, okay? And where? I like to have convos in private, especially for new leaders or new people in general. If they're an established leader, I'll have convos in front of other leaders because like there's camaraderie there. But if it's a new leader or entry level, I have the convo in private. I don't want to embarrass them, right? I also a big part of our business is having people shadow convos. So I'll ask them like, hey, Van, real quick, I have Ken here. Ken's one of our our top leaders. He's opening an office pretty soon. I'm having him shadow everything that I do. Van, is it okay if I have him shadow this convo? And if the leader's like, yeah, no problem, or if the person's like, yeah, no problem, okay. But if they're like, as a matter of fact, I'm not comfortable with that, please kick that person out. Don't just have a convo and someone's shadowing and you don't address why they're shadowing. That's weird. Our culture is very different than most businesses. So we have to make sure we establish that. But have the convo in private. And if you want somebody to shadow, ask for consent first.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, and I love the urgency. That it's like the old saying: if you got a broken window, you got to fix it, or else you're going to catch a cold. Like don't let a problem become bigger. And
100%.
most of the problems people have in their lives, when we talk about any problem, personal, health-wise, business, it started off small and they ignored it, right? They ignored it. It was, whether it was a heart problem, they ignored it. Whether it was something with their business, little thing, and it got bigger and bigger and bigger. And so really your goal as a leader is to make mountains out of molehills, is to look at little things and really think of them as big deals, that you don't go into it freaking out, but in your mind, you realize if that little thing is ignored, it turns into a mountain, right?
Yes.
So it's kind of like you have to pretend it's a mountain way before it becomes a mountain. And a lot of the way leaders get developed is because you're nitpicking little things over and over and over again, to the point where now they're more polished because you keep noticing these little details and having conversations right away. You don't wait till tomorrow. And we see passive aggressive leadership does not work. Passive aggressive leadership does not work. This whole, I'll ignore them and I'll talk to them later and I'll hide in my office. Like you're not going to make anybody better. And it's going to make the relationships you have get worse because people don't feel like they know what's on your mind. So really important subject there. When to have it? Right away.
100%. All right, next slide. All right. So next, Van, we keep on feeding off each other, man. We keep feeding off each other, bro. It's great. Like we're a tag team. This is great. So I go over proactive, not reactive, right? So the more you are adjusting what is expected, the quicker you see behavior molded. Okay, guys, this is the biggest key between the good leaders and the bad leaders. Okay. You want to make sure that you guys are addressing behavior right away. Often, a lot of times, convos need to be proactive. So you need to be having them right away versus, the times where, you're letting things slide. And then then later you're trying to change the problem, but it's already become a habit. It's become an issue. That's right there is huge. A lot of times, guys, I will bring up negatives before they even come up, right? So first day in the field, I'm bringing up how we might get some not so nice customers and how I'm going to handle it. I'm going to bring up the cold and how we're going to handle it, right? For us in the Northeast, I'm going to bring up, commission and how if you don't work, you don't make money. I'm going to bring that up. That's all those things are things that I'm going to make sure that are being addressed. And if they're not addressed and they grow up into something even bigger, then it's a problem. All right. So that's really huge. That's really big. Okay. Now, with that being said, guys, you will mess up. Understand that you will mess up. And it is okay. It is better to mess up than it is to avoid the conversation. I'll say it again. It is better to mess up than it is to avoid the conversation. Network with your upline and have them shadow you to make sure you're getting better. Always ask them, hey, Van, how would you have this combo? What would you say here? And then go have it. And if there's a problem and you messed up, tell your upline, hey, upline, I need you to fix this for me, please. And they'll do it.
Yeah. Listen, no matter how many calls you're on, no matter how many impacts you hear, no matter how many meetings you attend, a big part of this is you got to learn as you go. And a big part of this is trial and error. And you're just going to have to do it. This isn't one of those things where you study, the bar exam for 2 years and all of a sudden you're a lawyer and you just go start practicing. You're practicing law from the moment you start in the training program. You're in the courtroom and you're probably going to lose some of the cases at first. The jury is going to look at you like you're crazy because you're going to be too excited or you're going to be too indifferent. And so, of course, you got your leadership, you got your mentors, you got your upline, but, you just have to practice by doing. And there's no faster way to learn than experience. So it
Yeah.
doesn't mean that you don't go into these conversations with prep work. Hey, Aaron, I'm about to have a conversation with my guy. He's late for the second time this week. Can I watch you have this conversation, or can we go over how to have it? Hey, Aaron, there's a guy on my crew. He hasn't rang the bell for 3 straight days. Can we talk about how you go about that conversation? So you do your prep work, you do your homework. You don't just go into it flippantly. And if you're somebody that is very new and you haven't had any experience, like Aaron said, that's where you get your upline, you get your leaders, your managers, your assistant managers, and you say, hey, can you have this conversation? Can I watch you? Can I have this conversation? Can you watch me? And in the same way, you guys look at the field, right? Where when you're in the field, you watched your leader show you how to set the pace, overturn objections, close customers, and then you're doing that with your people. Conversations are very similar. You want to watch how people have them. You want to observe the psychology, the body language, the tonality. And then as you're building your teams, you want them to observe how you have conversations as well. And then the role reversal, right? Where when you're training someone, Aaron, you do the pitch, they watch you, and then guess what? You watch them, right? So, you want your leaders to watch you because there might be something you do that you have a blind spot to. And so that's why don't just go on your own and do all this stuff. Use your resources, your mentors, your coaches to give you feedback, because that's how you're going to get better so much faster.
100%. You got to have those convos. You guys move with speed, right? If you need to learn something, network, shadow more convos, ask help for convos, then have them. One of the biggest ways people delay their time in the training program is by not having convos because they're not utilizing their uplines or their resources around them. So be more aggressive with it. Don't be afraid to mess it up. Network about it first, and I'm telling you, will grow so much faster than. So Van, great point, brother. All right, next slide. All right, so I wanted to end this off with like the right type of conversation. So the reason why I wanted to talk about this slide very importantly is because, once again, we are coaches of people, right? We are trying to get individuals to not only understand the bigger picture, but then have them be equipped with the right type of behavioral characteristics they have to exhibit in order for them to accomplish their goals, right? So also, as a leader, people around you will only buy into you if your conversations are on point. The reason why Van is in the position that he's in is because the convos he's had has impacted a lot of lives. The reason why Ken is in the position he's in is because the convos he had has changed a lot of lives, right? What you discuss among your team is what they will also discuss among each other. So if you're a leader on this call and you're wondering, why am I not getting interviews? Or why can I not retain people? Or why is my team always negative? It's because of the convos that you're having, quite frankly. Your owner or your team leaders or people around you are not impacted enough by the things you talk about, right? So if I'm a leader on this call and I want to gain influence among those around me, I need to make sure that I'm having the right type of conversations. And these are really the only type of conversations that I'm having consistently on a day-to-day basis, right? So I'm going over habits and routines, right? One big reason why people don't make it in our business is because their habits and routines are shitty. They go to bed late, they don't educate themselves, they eat like shit, they don't sleep well, right? So I'm constantly going over the importance of eating healthy. I'm constantly going over so I'm never sick and I feel good. I'm going over the importance of getting good sleep. So that in the office, I'm not moody, I'm not cranky. I can show up on time, right? I'm going over reading books or listening to educational podcasts because I already know that self-education is a big way to get better at the business faster, right? So I'm constantly going over these convos in my office with my team. The opportunity, I'm constantly talking about the opportunity because I'm reminding my leaders why they're doing this. Because if they don't remember and they think this is a door-to-door job, they're going to quit, right? So I want to be constantly talking about the opportunity, exposing them to the opportunity, expose them to other owners who have similar backgrounds as your leaders, right? Because at the end of the day, the opportunity is why we're here. And as a top leader, if you're not always talking about it, people are going to talk about other things, which are not going to be conducive to their overall development, right? I'm also having a lot of goal-oriented conversations. So I'm constantly going over everybody on my team's goals, what they want to accomplish, and how we're going to achieve them, right? Once again, people are here because they have bigger goals they want to accomplish outside the business. I need to make sure that as a leader, I'm constantly talking about their goals so that way, not only do they see me as somebody who cares, but I'm also able to put them in positions that help them accomplish their goals a lot faster. And I'll also help my critical conversations because now I'm able to know their goals, to hold them to a standard that will help them accomplish those said goals, right? So as a top leader, you're constantly having goal-oriented convos, and you're constantly having productive and developmental convos, right? So how to be a better leader, how to raise your own standards, how to be a better team with the 8 steps. Overall, you're having convos with your guys on the behavioral characteristics they need to have in order for them to ring the bell, be in every day, take out good interviews, retain a team, right? You're constantly having these convos day in and day out. They should look at you, because you always have these convos, as whenever I go to Aaron, I know that I'm going to learn something. Whenever I go to Van, I know I'm going to learn something. Whenever I go to so-and-so, I know that I'm going to learn something because of the type of convos we're constantly having. So those of you on this call, you kind of got to ask yourself, like, do I have good convos, or am I talking about partying or drinking or just music, or am I talking about gossiping in the office? Like, or when I talk, is 90% of what I say about one of these 4 things? And if it is, you're on the right track. But if it's not, you need to really evaluate the type of things you're talking about. And that's probably why you haven't reached management yet, because what comes out of your mouth is not helping or developing those around you. So what you talk about is what you'll be known for. And if you're able to really impact and develop those around you effectively, you'll see that you'll have the ability to grow in a training program a lot faster. So
Nice. Yeah. And the other thing, and we'll get into questions. Anybody has questions, please fire away. We got a few minutes left here. I think I was talking last night with one of my managers about this, because I think sometimes conversations, we look at them as this, like we can show you a system, right? That's here, but conversations are with people, they're with humans, and they involve uniqueness every time. And certain people, based on the topic, based on the subject, just saying one thing one time with one analogy, it doesn't always sink in. And one of the things I learned a long time ago is that conversations, they don't have a time frame. Like I don't look at something when I'm talking to Aaron about, if I know Aaron's special and I know Aaron, he really has to get down the fact that that punctuality is going to really have a big impact on his long-term career. Not only might I might have to have this conversation many times, but the better I get at having it, the less times I'm gonna have it, right? And so if I look at this and I know it's, punctuality is his issue, he's a top leader, he's killing it, he does all these things, but he can't show up on time, I'm gonna pull him into a room and we're not leaving that room until the fact that punctuality is his issue is deep ingrained in his soul, all the way into his bones, where we talk and he gives his feedback and I go back and I explain it and I have analogies. And so I'm not in a rush to end this conversation until I see those buying signs. Like with a customer, if a customer gives you an objection and you overturn the objection, and all of you guys that are in the field kind of know this stuff, you overturn the objection, but they still kind of give you that look that they're still not sure. You can't just leave that objection and go to the close, because that that's still a stone that's not turned, like it's not unturned. You have to stick with that. And so if I'm talking to Aaron and we're talking about punctuality and I know it's his main problem, I'm not just going to say, hey, Aaron, you got to start showing up on time. He'll be like, I know. And I can't pat him on the back and say, okay, man, I'll see you tomorrow. I'm gonna be like, Aaron, you're special, but you're never going to accomplish your goals. You're just never going to do it. No business person will take you serious. I have to create sort of a pathway for this person to understand that even though we're talking about something small, it's going to be what their Achilles heel is and what destroys them long term.
Yes.
So many people think of conversations as, okay, I said what I need to say. They heard me. I high-five them and they leave the room. No, there has to be, they understand it. Because even when you go into conversations that are negative, the goal is for you to leave that room and you want to hug each other because you're like, okay, I get it. Even though you beat them up, even though you went right after it, don't end a conversation quickly if it's really, really important. And you know that this person has to get it. Now, Aaron, I'm sure there's different ones in your office. You got a lot of people running around. So if a guy that, is just, you're kind of on the fence about him and you just say, listen, if you can't show up on time, like you can't work here. The guy's like, oh, I'll fix it. those conversations sometimes don't need to be long. But with those special people in special circumstances, do not rush it. Like, have the conversation until, you feel like you've gotten through to them. And I think that's important.
Very important, very important. And once again, this is why it's important. I always say you want to be spending time in and outside the office, because when you do that and you spend this much time, you're able to impact them that much stronger, that much harder, that much better, because you really spent the time to dissect the issue, the problem, and find a solution so they can really be the rock star you think they can be.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Don't be in a, I mean, again, we're running atmosphere. There's things going on. I know there's going to be certain conversations that are quicker, but we're talking about, like, some of your key players, your key people, like, they're going to need more in-depth conversations sometimes about a subject that might seem frivolous, but it may be the reason why they don't accomplish their goals. And you have to really stick with that. Okay, let's get into some questions here. If someone is doing all the right things, but say something like punctuality is an issue and you're having multiple combos about the same thing, what would you stay at a level 3 combo? So I'm not sure what that level 3 part means, but maybe that was on your chart there.
Yeah. All right. So we know all the right things, but this is something like punctuality is an issue, and you've been having one to conference about it. Would you say the level 3 issue? Well, listen, someone can't be doing all the right things and be consistently late. That doesn't make sense to me, because that's step 2. That's literally one of like the basics of conversations, So in my opinion, yeah, I would say level 3, because what are the right things are you doing if you're late? That's like the bare bones minimum. So if you can't even be on time, sure as hell can't run an office. So yeah, I would say level 3.
Nice. Okay. And then we got, okay. So that was that question. If anybody else has any other questions, please feel free and ask, and I would say, Aaron, for you, if you look at when you were, cause you're now kicking ass. It's when someone looks at you, they're gonna be like, wow, Aaron must be this incredible guy at conversations. It must be magic every time he talks to someone. But let's take these people back, because you were a leader in the field. You were an owner that had your struggles. What do you think was the biggest mistake you made with conversations? Whether you were a leader in the field or whether you were a new owner, where do you feel like you screwed up the most, and how did you fix it?
I wasn't having them. I was shying away. I was scared. I didn't want to make somebody, my biggest thing with convos was I didn't want to hurt somebody's feelings, right? And so I would just not have it thinking I was being a nice guy. But Van, let me ask you a question, man. If I found out your house was burning down, right? And there was a time period where you could go to the house and you could like save some of your belongings, right? But I didn't tell you because I didn't want to hurt your feelings, and then you lost everything. Would I not be the asshole for not telling you?
You'd be the asshole, that's for sure.
Exactly, right? But a lot of people look at not having convos as, oh, I don't want to hurt their feelings, or I don't want to make them sad. But guess what? If they're not accomplishing their goals and you're holding back on information that could help them, you're an asshole. You're not a nice guy. So because of that, that was what I had to switch in my mind. I was like, oh, I don't want to hurt this guy's feelings. I don't want to, but I started to realize that no, like I might need to temporarily hurt some feelings to get this person better. And they're going to thank me later. There are comments of how some of my guys where they're like, when you said this one thing, I hated you, but now I love you because you were right. And I accomplished my goal because of what you said. So, I had to get over that mental barrier.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think like that was probably, people ask me all the time, what was your biggest challenge going through the training program? And I always say, I just wasn't having critical conversations with people. I was afraid of them. I was really afraid of confrontation. I wanted to be friends with everybody. I want everybody to like me. And, most people liked me, but the problem was everybody sucked. No one was
Exactly.
I had a bunch of guys and nobody can get to leadership. And I was like, everybody's my friend and they want to hang out with me on weekends, but I'm not making people better. So what really is my responsibility here? Is it just to be friends with people? I just go back to working in restaurants. I want to be a successful business person. My responsibility with people is to make them better. Okay, a couple more questions, then we'll rock and roll. So how would you deliver the message to someone who's not listening or receptive?
I point out to them, hey, I ask questions. I noticed that when I ever give you feedback, like you always have something to say, or that like you don't like apply anything. Do you think that I would ask them like, why is that? Do you think that I'm wrong? It's okay if you do. If you think that I'm wrong, okay, then I mean, I won't coach you anymore because I don't think that I'm able to get through to you. And if they're like, oh, well, no, as a matter of fact, I don't always think you're wrong. I just don't agree. Well, I'll be like, okay, well, listen, I've been doing this for a while, and so I see X, Y, and Z as getting in your way. But if you're not going to listen to me, I'm just letting you know it's fine. I just won't put any more of my energy into you, because at the end of the day, I can't work with individuals who don't think that I have the answers to help them. Maybe somebody else does, or maybe they don't. But Christina, let's think about it. Like, do you feel like you can be more receptive? And if you do, then I'll keep working with you. But if not, I can work with somebody else. That's fine. So you let me know what you want to do. That's how I do that.
Yeah. Nice.
Okay.
And then we got one more here.
Go ahead, Van.
Oh yeah, no, you see it. Go ahead.
If my manager is not available to start my convos, is there another way I can get feedback? Another person I can get feedback from? Do you think convos is something you can practice or mock? Yes, convos, you can definitely practice them and mock them. Number two, more importantly, if your manager's unavailable, grab up a top leader in your office who to shadow, someone who you know is better at convos than you. Or you even, obviously with consent, ask if you can record this because you're trying to get better, and then play it back to your manager when they have time. Either way, find somebody who's better than you, and have them shadow or watch, or work with them in the office when you come in early to mock convos, so that way you can improve on it. Okay.
Nice.
If you have someone with the right mentality and great production, but continually messes up with little things, no matter how many convos you have with them, what type of convos you're going to have with them to get on top of the small things? I don't know what small things you mean here, but what I'll say is I need to understand the psychology first. Like, why are they messing up on the small things? What are these small things and the why? Once I can understand the why, I need to understand what their pattern of behavior is that gets them to this point. Once I can analyze what their behavioral pattern is that makes them mess up on the small things, I now need to provide a solution that changes that behavioral pattern so that way they're no longer making that mistake. And I have to identify what that is. See, a good coach is able to identify what someone's mistake is or someone's problem is, so that way they can then say, okay, this is where you mess up. This is why little things don't occur. So if you fix this behavior, you'll then see that X, Y, and Z will be better. So you have to be able to identify what it is by getting into the psychology of their mind and their thought process. And once you can identify it, you keep having the convo with them on how to fix it. And if you don't see a return on your convos, then either you're not having them well enough, or this is the wrong person. But you have to be able to identify that.
Nice. Well, guys, I mean, again, I always bring this up about how cool it is that you guys get access to these, speakers, these topics. Again, I just make myself sound old, but going to the field, we just never had this type of stuff. We never have access to owners of different programs, this type of information. So we really appreciate the participation you guys give, the questions you give. People really are always asking, hey, how can I access all these and go back in the archives? We have a Slack channel that your owners can give to you. But once again, Aaron, congrats on all of your success. Over these past, couple of years now, you really turned the corner, and it's a great example for everybody to think about what 10 months can do, what a year and a half can do in your life, regardless of your situation. We're in a business where, you guys have heard this before, you can go from the poorhouse to the penthouse in 6 weeks, in 6 months, in a very, very quick, period of time. And so you just got to look at it and think, well, what are you missing? And that's where the networking, like, Aaron went to Richard's office and he, spent time with Bud. And when you get yourself around other people who are getting the results you want and you hang out with them enough, eventually it starts to rub off on you. And Aaron, you're a great example of that. So congrats on everything and great impact today.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate it, brother. Once again, just here to share my knowledge, guys. And, I was once in your shoes. I'm no better than anybody else. I just, apply what my mentors tell me, and I'm willing to get out of my comfort zone. So you guys listen to the call. If you're willing to do the same thing, you'll be running one of these two one day.
Nice.
All right.
Thanks, Aaron, so much. Appreciate everybody hopping on. We'll see you guys in a couple of weeks. Have a great week, everybody.